You sent us down a fascinating rabbit hole with this research, and we've really been digging into it for you.
Absolutely. It's a really interesting study we're unpacking today. The title is uh, Semi-Automating the Scoping Review Process. Is it worthwhile? A methodological evaluation.
Right.
It just came out in Educational Psychology Review last November. Authors are Shen Zhang and quite a team. Chris Paliguacci, Mersin Patera, Chris Davis-Joldi, Noah Schroeder, Anthony
Yeah.
Botello, and Jessica Gladstone.
Exactly. And the core idea here is the scoping review. Now, if you're not, deep in research methods every day, think of it like this.
Okay.
Imagine you need to understand a whole new continent. A scoping review is like, well, creating that first big map,
Right.
identifying the major land masses, the key rivers, the big mountain ranges.
Right, the broad strokes.
Yeah, it's less about finding the absolute best route across, which is more like a classic systematic review looking at, say, intervention effectiveness.
Good analogy.
And what's great here is they used a real set of studies, one meant for an actual scoping review but not analyzed before, gives it some practical, oof.
That's a crucial point. It's not just theoretical. So the mission you basically set for us in this deep dive is about automation. Right?
Exactly. Can algorithms help?
Can these computational tools speed up that really sometimes tedious process of pulling out key info from studies for these reviews?
And the big question, can they replace humans? Or are they more like, assistants, powerful assistants maybe, but still needing guidance?
That's the terrain we're exploring based on this article.
Okay, let's unpack this. The researchers didn't just wave a magic wand and say computers. They tested 5 specific computational methods pretty rigorously.
They did.
Can you give us a rundown? What were they looking at?
Sure. They had a pretty diverse toolkit. First up, bibliometric analysis using VO's Viewer.
VS Viewer, right. I've seen those maps it creates.
Exactly. It visualizes connections, authors, keywords, journals, that kind of thing. Then they used latent Dirichlet allocation, LDA,
Okay.
with a bag of words approach. Basically, imagine just counting word frequency in documents, ignoring grammar, to find underlying topics.
Like finding common ingredients to figure out the type of cuisine, sort of?
Precisely. A simple but often effective idea. Third was k-means clustering, but using TF-IDF weighting first.
TF-IDF, that gives more weight to words that are unique to a document,
Okay.
less common overall.
You got it. Helps pinpoint distinctive terms. Then k-means uses that to group similar studies. Fourth, they got more sophisticated, sentence BERT, or SBERT,
Uh-huh.
and another one called Spectre. These are, well, pretty advanced ways for AI to grasp sentence and document meaning.
Cutting edge stuff.
And finally, they looked at hierarchical clustering, but specifically using sentence BERT again, and also another approach called BERTopic, which is another way to automatically pull out topics from text collections.
Wow. Okay. They really put these methods through their paces. So the big question, what did they find? How did these different tools stack up? Let's maybe start with the topic modeling ones. LDA, BERTopic, and that K means clustering.
Okay, so what's interesting there is, yes, they could identify some specific research areas within the data set. That part worked.
But there sounds like a but coming.
Well, the limitation was that these identified areas often turned out to be quite narrow. Very specific niches.
Oh.
Which meant actually that a pretty significant chunk of the studies didn't really fit neatly into any of those specific topics. They were either left out or ended up in these sort of broad, ill-defined other categories.
Huh. So you might get a laser focus on a few small areas, but you could totally miss the bigger picture or how different bits connect. That speaks to that listener goal of not feeling overwhelmed. Relying only on this might actually leave you more confused or with gaps.
Exactly that. If you think about the main goal of a scoping review, getting that broad map of the field, these methods, on their own, might not quite deliver that comprehensive view you're aiming for.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the bibliometric analysis? With VO's Viewer, the name implies looking at the bibliography, the references. What did that show?
Right. VO's viewer's strength is really in visualizing relationships. And in this study, the researchers found it was particularly good for spotting key author networks.
Author networks, like who's
Yeah.
working with whom?
Precisely. Who collaborates together? Which researchers or labs seem to be, central hubs in this particular research area?
That seems genuinely useful. If you're new to a field, figuring out who the key players are, who's collaborating, running VS Viewer could be a really smart first step, couldn't it? Like getting the social network of the research field.
Absolutely. It gives you a structural map, which is different from the thematic map the topic models aim for. It's complementary information.
Okay. Now, you mentioned hierarchical clustering with SBIRT seemed, well, more informative in their evaluation. What made that one stand out?
Yeah, this is where it gets quite interesting for seeing the bigger picture. Hierarchical clustering, especially combined with Sentence-Burt's understanding of meaning, was pretty good at grouping studies into themes, sure, like the others.
Another but.
But importantly, it also showed how those themes related to each other, because it's hierarchical, right?
Right, tree-like structure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can see how smaller, more specific clusters of research might group together under broader conceptual umbrellas. It visualizes the relationships between the categories, not just the categories themselves.
Okay. So it's not just putting studies in different buckets, it's showing you how the buckets are stacked or nested that really hits on that need for multiple perspectives and seeing the connection.
Precisely. It offers potentially a more layered, nuanced view. You can kind of zoom in on specifics or zoom out to see the overall structure.
So pulling it all together, looking across all 5 methods, what was the bottom line from the study? Can we start firing the human reviewers and just let the algorithms loose on these scoping reviews?
Huh. Well, the study's main finding was pretty clear on that, actually, based on
Ah.
these specific analyses they ran.
Yeah.
These computational methods are probably not ready to fully replace the detailed, nuanced work humans do in extracting data for scoping reviews.
Oh,
Understanding context, synthesizing information in complex ways, making judgment calls, that still seems to require human expertise.
right. So full automation for this kind of deep synthesis isn't quite here yet.
Not based on these tools, no. But, and this is important, the study strongly suggests these methods can be really valuable supplements as assistants, like you said.
Okay. So they can help out.
Definitely. They have real potential to speed up certain parts of the process.
Yeah.
Maybe that initial pass to identify possible themes or finding key collaborations quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. Augmenting the human, not replacing them. And worth noting, this work had backing from the National Science Foundation and the Institute of Education Sciences,
Right.
which usually signals, that the research questions are considered pretty important and the methods are solid, adds credibility.
Absolutely. It underscores the relevance of figuring this out.
And hey, for listeners who are maybe more technical or just, intensely curious about how this stuff actually works,
Yeah.
the researchers made their code and results available. It's on the Open Science Framework, the OSF.
Oh, that's great. Transparency.
Yeah, we'll put the link in the resources. It's osf.io5tb2y, and there's a view-only key attached, so people can actually go look under the hood if they want.
That's an excellent resource for anyone wanting to really grapple with these computational techniques firsthand.
So let's bring it back to the listener. If you're facing that maybe slightly daunting task of getting a handle on a big pile of research, a new project, exploring a new field, what's the practical message here?
I think the key insight is that these semi-automated tools can give you a significant head start.
Okay.
They can help you sketch out that initial map, main themes, key players, much faster than just starting by reading everything from scratch.
But you can't stop there.
Exactly. That human oversight, the critical
Yeah.
reading, the deep synthesis to really understand the nuances and limitations. That's still absolutely essential for a truly comprehensive picture. You can't just, plug the papers into the machine and expect fully formed insights out the other end.
Right. It's like having a super efficient research assistant who can flag things and point you in directions, but you still have to do the thinking, the interpreting, the connecting the dots.
That's a perfect way to put it.
Okay. So to kind of wrap up our deep dive into this study, the verdict seems to be that algorithms are becoming powerful allies in scoping reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Great for identifying themes, networks, but that irreplaceable human expertise is still critical for the deep data extraction and really understanding the research landscape.
That sums up the study's core message very well, a balanced perspective.
And, that leaves us with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe chew on.
Okay.
Given how fast AI is moving, especially with language processing, think GPT-4 and beyond,
Mm-hmm.
how might these kinds of semi-automated tools evolve? What's next?
Good question.
Could we see new approaches emerge soon that start to bridge that gap more effectively, that get closer to balancing algorithmic speed with, well, that deep human-level comprehension needed for research synthesis?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How will this human-AI collaboration in research evolve? It's definitely one of the most fascinating areas to watch right now.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it gave you some valuable perspective on the potential and, the current limits of algorithms in synthesizing research. Until our next exploration.